Hello, welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I am your host, Mike Gonzalez, and thank you for coming by. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for if you're just checking in for the first time. Thank you for messaging me at lostlikemike@gmail.com. Rome is burning. Watch. Another episode, yeah. I'm doing this one right on time on Sunday. This is the way it ought to be, peaceful. Come home from church and whatnot and get to hang out and record an episode for y'all, for myself. Couple things on the agenda to talk about today. So I'm excited about that. So this past week, we're getting ready for school to start. A lot of families are getting ready for school to start. My daughter's getting ready to go back to school. And so my wife's a preschool teacher, so she had to get her classroom set up. So plus I had a bunch of things to take care of by way of school. Not school. My kids needing to go, they need to get the some medical stuff, dental stuff, all that kind of stuff gets sorted out in this time. So anyway, I got to have a daddy-daughter day, which was pretty awesome. I never get to just hang out, and she did something really cool. She we had talked about having to make a list. Like, we don't want to forget doing this or doing that. So we're going to make a list, and since she had us hang out a lot at the school, went ahead and said, we'll make your list at the school, and just let me know what you like to do. So she had this list with these little squares next to each item on our agenda for the day. And it was like stuff like play Barbies and go to the park, stuff like that. And we ended up, I called an audible. I said, how about we go to Mr. Gaddy's Pizza, which is kind of like Peter Piper Pizza or like Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know where different places like that are on the, different parts. But it's basically like you get pizza and then just a bunch of video games and rides and stuff. This one in particular has like bumper cars and different games that you can get on, like and then we wanted to paint, so I wanted to take her to Walmart. Which, by the way, I think incidentally, families really take for granted the shopping experience as an activity in and of itself. Because of most of the things that we did that day, I think one of the things that we took the longest with and arguably had the most fun with was our trip to Walmart. Partially because, we knew what we wanted to get, so that kind of frees you up to just kind of roam the aisles and find the most, especially a place like Walmart or Target, or where they have just odds and ends on every aisle that are somewhat entertaining. Yeah, it was, and granted, we spent money on what we were intending to be there for, you know what I mean? As far as, we went there to buy some painting supplies for, which ironically we didn't even end up painting. She did like she started to paint one thing and then it was on to the next activity. But so, like I said, we spent more time in the shopping for stuff than we actually did for the items. I don't know if I have it set up weird, but if you're watching, I'm all thinking that I'm off camera drinking my drink, and it's like right there in front of everybody. Which, by the way, I don't know if she has a title for her shop. I'll have to ask, but somebody is making a cup for me to drink on my show, because I complained about always having to drink off camera, or to pour my drink into like a clear glass or whatever. So they're making me a cup, a Lost Like My cup. So I'm excited to see what that looks like and how it comes out. So excited about that. But yeah, we were making videos at Walmart, making fun of her mom, and finding all kind of weird, like full body size pillows and playing with them. And it was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Of course, if you take a 8-year-old to Walmart, you're going to spend some money. So, or they're going to find stuff that they want, you know what I mean? But yeah, they're home right now. In case you hear them in the background, it's not my fault. It's what it is. When we were at the park, she met like a couple kids. She's very good about meeting new people, socializing out there at the park. It's one of those things where it'd be different if I was and that's not being sexist, but it's different when you're a mom and you have your kid and you're out at the park and there's other moms there. Like if I'm playing with my which I was playing with my daughter, and we're on the swing, and she's swinging with this other little girl, and the little girl calls her mom over. There's rules and etiquette that you have to follow as a father standing next to another random stranger lady, right? Where you can't be like, "Hey, good morning, how you doing?" Whatever. You would think that would be the logical, good manner way of speaking to somebody else, but there's just something about being out in where you can't do that. It's just creepy. In my mind, it is. Like, I get this a lot. That's not cool. But I'm just saying, like, more often than not, and women, you could tell me if this is true or not, but a lot of times it doesn't matter how attractive you are or not. You just think that you're getting hit on, or that somebody's trying to make a play. And maybe that comes from like 9 out of 10 times people actually hitting on you and making a play. But it's one of those things. Like my daughter, we were at a daddy-daughter dance, and I might have told the story before, but it really haunted me and still haunts me to this day. My daughter's like, "Can you get the princesses," which are like these young ladies all dressed up as princesses. And then she was like, "I'll stand with them. Can I take a picture with them?" And I said, like, not even thinking about it, I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then right at the last minute, when we were there in front of these princesses, I said, "Hey, my daughter says she was shy and didn't want to be in the picture." So I'm like, "Hey, my daughter wants me to take a photograph of you all." And then, I look, my daughter's like hiding behind my leg, being shy or whatever. And for a second, it was like, cool. And then for the next second, it was like, that you're just like a guy wanting to take a picture of us. Like that's, and then enter the creep factor. And it's like, so it's just one of those things where it taught me a valuable lesson, next time I'll be like, and I'm like looking at her going, "Right? You want a picture of them, right?" and my daughter's like, doing that shy thing where she's not saying anything, and it's like, you know what, forget it. She wanted to be in the picture with you. You know what? It's cool. Just never mind. My bad. but yeah, so we're at the park and she's socializing with these different people. And I've seen it, you know, a lot of times I'm out there playing like with her. So I'm climbing the jungle gym and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you'll see dads that are out there doing the same. And men are like the worst, most awkward people, like where, you know, I think one guy was like, "It's hot, right?" And it's like, okay, yep, it is hot. And that's the extent. And then sometimes the fathers are like these, like real, wanting to show how athletic they are and running around, jumping with the kids. And so that's kind of, there's a bit of an ego going on there. I don't want to mess with that either. But I did get another idea for, further idea for a book. We were playing and there was this little boy and he wants to introduce himself and hang out with her. And he gets on this those merry-go-rounds, and my daughter's like, she starts that whole thing that she does where she says, "Oh, watch how fast my dad can push us. Watch how fast." And I caught the look in the little boy's eyes, and I was like, no, listen, we're not going fast. We're not going to do that. Like, if you want, we can spin it around a little baby bit. But if you start to get dizzy, or if you start to feel like it's too fast, then just say pickle and we'll slow down, or, you know. Yeah. So, so I said, I was giving that whole speech, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm totally down. But at the same time, I was like, for real, like, just don't like not say anything and then start crying when I'm going too fast. I didn't say that, but I'm trying to like nudge towards like, I don't want this to be like another 4th of July where I have a kid flying off and busting his butt because, you know, he wasn't holding on proper. Anyway, the kid was cool. I kept it kind of chill, whatever. And then, like, he was, the little boy all of a sudden started getting sick, like, nauseous. Just, they were getting on the swings and he got real like sickly, and then the mom came, scooped him up, and they went to the bathroom and they took off. They left for the day. And there was a couple other instances where like they were just running in circles like around the playground, and then the boy comes up and says, "My mom doesn't want me to do that anymore. Can we do something else?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure, but that's a new one for me." Like for somebody to just be like, "Nah, don't be running around and chasing each other at a park." Like it was just strange. But it brought to mind that not everything is like, her assumption was, oh, well, I love to run. I love to chase. So obviously I'm going to chase him. And that's what he's going to want. Oh, I love to get on this ride and spin around in circles and go as fast as I possibly can until I'm all, you know, dizzy. I'm sure that's what he wants. And so it's just like, I think in life we often project and do unto others as we want done unto ourselves. But it's more of like the consideration is now where it would be better if you just were like, listen, I think this would be a lot of fun to do but where are you at with this? Like, is it something you would want or not? It was a valuable lesson for her because she was plowing through that, and it was like echoed because she met another little girl, and the little girl's like, let's get on this tire swing and like spin until we throw up. And then it was like, yeah. You're like next level. You're a little bit much for me. And we ended up, speaking of going to Walmart later that day, we ended up having to sit in the parking lot because right after that, my daughter was like, dude, I'm like, that was too much. That was, so anyway, it was a valuable lesson. So and it's been something I've kind of been toying around with, the idea of in certain instances, it'd be better to do unto others as they want done. And instead of just how, you want done. It's like that old adage. But I think morally speaking, you can kind of revert to that way. Like, I'm going to do unto others, ethically speaking, like as I would want done unto myself, and not get lost in the weeds with all that. But yeah. So last night, we did our normal show on Saturday. We went to go play our regular spot, but we got called up by this other place, and we're like, hey, can y'all open up for this tribute band? If you're familiar with tribute bands are kind of like, they just do a bunch of covers of a specific artist, and sometimes they'll dress up a little bit like them. But like they try to be more accurate as to the sound of that band. Like a tribute band they use all the similar effects and whatnot. I've seen like Deftone cover bands, tribute bands, Tool tribute bands, Metallica, stuff like that. Well, they asked us to come out and open up for a Korn tribute band. And I kept telling Vince, are you sure they wanted two guys with acoustic guitars, to open up for a Korn tribute band? And they're like, absolutely. So I said, cool, let's do it. But it was like 104-degree weather, whatever. And then we're playing outdoors for 4 hours. And then we drive across town and set up in the heat outdoors again for a 2-hour show. And I mean, I drank the entire gallon of water and was just still like, I had to come home and take a cold shower, but that's the end of the night. It's kind of jumping past the whole situation. Okay, so two guys with guitars, it's not hard to set up. Okay, we 2 mics, 2 guitars. We have each have our own little setup. But and so there's an important thing that I kind of wanted to get into. So coming up through the years, playing in rock bands and at different levels, opening, mid spot, headliners, whatever. There was an old-fashioned sense called where, as a headliner, you would do something called backlining. Okay, this is a little information for the day, a little lesson for the day. They did this thing called backlining, where you would, if there was a drum riser in the back, you would set the guy's drums up for your show, and then the opening act would set up in front of that. And for years, we were the openers, and we're used to playing with half the stage because they would set up their Marshall stacks or their stacks and backline. That's where it comes from. And then they had the drums and everything, and you would set up in front. And it was par for the course. You did it. Like, you didn't complain about it. They would throw their tarps over their little, sheets and whatnot. And but as we sort of, it wasn't even like dick when you did it. Like, I remember as we started being headliners and stuff, I would always be like, I remember what it felt like to be an opener and like have half the stage because the headliner would backline. But The argument was that you would show up the day before or really early, and you would sound check all your equipment, make sure everything was, set up to your specifications, and then you would just be able to come back, plug, and turn on, and you'd be ready to start the show. That was the idea behind it. It wasn't just like an ego thing to like hold up the stage. But okay, so that's the sentiment behind it. But that being said, even with that dynamic of setting up as an opener, you would still have the opportunity to show up, set up your Euro stuff with a little bit of space that you have, and then sound check it prior to your show. I mean, that's just the common courtesy of, And there's a lot of like smaller things that you can kind of like behind the scenes to tell you. Like a lot of times you'll hear an opening band and you'll say, wow, they don't sound too great, like sound wise, like it just sounds whatever. Well, a little insider information, a lot of times that's calculated by the soundman, who's usually paid for by the headliner. Usually they'll not do such as good of a job on the opener. Some soundmen are legit and they're gonna just make everybody sound like $1 million. They're gonna try their best. But more often than not, over the years, you'd be like, why I can't really hear the drums, or it sounds kind of weak on the guitars. And then here comes the headliner and everything's just boom. It sounds great. And that's where you kind of get into the politics of headliners wanting to sound better than the opener and having a quality shift from one level to the next. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of those kind of games, right? Well, we show up yesterday, and we finish our first show. We go right to the next place because what are you gonna do? Drive home for like a half an hour and then head over to the next spot? You know what I'm saying? And drive across town both ways ain't worth it. So I pick up some dinner on my way to the next show. I'm there way early. I take my 4 bags or 3 guitar bag and a few items on the stage, and the headliner is showing up at the same time, and they're backlining. So they have the drums already set up in the far back of the stage, and they're setting up their rigs, guitar rig, bass, 2 guitar rigs and a bass rig and whatnot, right? And so we kind of just leave our stuff on the sides and we tell them, listen, y'all do your thing, set it up, sound check, and we'll set up in front of you and be ready to test us out, right? So, and this is with 2 hours of time, plenty of time. Believe me, if you're on task, if everybody shows up. Well, the singer doesn't show up with his little monitor until 30 minutes before they're supposed to go on. We're supposed to go on. And this fool sets up his monitor right on top of our equipment. And I can hear the guy, because I'm nice, I introduced myself to several of the players. And then I can hear the one guy that I introduced myself to telling the other ones, hey, these guys are supposed to start at 8 o'clock. They're supposed to start. And everybody's getting frustrated amongst themselves. Listen, I'm going to get paid either way. So I can overheat sitting in the shade just as well as I can be running around trying to plug stuff in. So I'm like, y'all do your thing. No worries. But so, and I'm hearing a guitar here a little bit drums here a little bit. So they're trying to figure their stuff out. All right. So it's already 8 o'clock. It's time for us to go on. And they're like, he's like, I'm not getting a signal on your guitar. Your stuff's probably broken. And I'm like, my stuff's not broken. Because I literally just left a place and played for 4 hours on this equipment. And unless you broke it, there's nothing wrong with my equipment. Well, maybe it's the cord. Maybe this, and again, no problems with the cords. But to humor you, let's go ahead and switch out chords for funsies. It was a whole ordeal, 15, 20 minutes of this guy trying to figure this stuff out. And I'm already upset because at one point he's like, look, you're just not gonna be able to use a guitar for the show. Like, it's all simple. Like, oh, okay, cool. Well, let's just change the entire dynamic of our show just because you don't know how to work your own equipment. Cool. Finally, they get it plugged in, and oh, there it is. I had this. It was a bad chord on my end. Of course it is. Not to say I was very nice about it. I was trying to be whatever, chill. We get about 2 songs in, and then the owner comes up and he's like, "Hey, this guitar sounds really bad." And I'm like, "Oh, first of all, I think it's super low. You can't even hear me vocally, and that we're coming out of this little monitor." And I walk in front of the speaker, and everything's really low. And during the sound check, you hear, because it's Korn, like, loud. It's like, come on, man. Like, you're really going to put us at half for what? Like, why are you going to, it's just 2 guys with guitars. What are you afraid of? Like, just let it, mic them up, put the volume up. Let's go. And anyway, Vince had to get on the mic and say, hey, can we get more vocal in the monitor, man? Like, he can't even hear himself. So I'm straining my voice trying to get anything. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this, man. I put the guitar down and said, I'm not using that at all. I said, just call out songs, whatever you want to do. We're gonna make our way through this stupid show. And then maybe 15 minutes left, the owner comes back up to us and he's like, dude, I've been inside working on some stuff, but I come back out and the sound is just really bad. Like, on the other guitar, just sounds muddled, and he was just going off. And he's like, listen, let's call it a day. And I packed up my stuff. I was like, dude, and I said, just to let you know, man, I said, we played a show before we got here, and everything sounded great, and our equipment was rocking, and nothing was wrong with it. So I don't know what's going on here, man, but just to let you know, it ain't on me. It's not. I just want you to know it's something going on here. And the man was like, I feel you. Hope not, because here comes another. The headliner's about to start. Well, I got a message today that Vince didn't take off until 45 minutes after they were supposed to start, and they still hadn't sorted out their sound or any of it. And I was like, dude, that's why I don't trip, man, because my thinking is, if somebody's an ass, they're going to be an ass to everybody, and eventually it's going to catch up. They can say that they're being an ass because you're being an ass. Okay, cool. But if their true colors are going to show because they can't help it, it's in their nature. So yeah, it was 45 minutes into the time they were supposed to be playing, and they hadn't sorted out their sound. And it just goes back to the nature of things. Like, I could have sit until I was blue in the face defending the fact that it was not my equipment. Like, it was a sound man issue. It was a sound issue. They were just, it was bad setup but I just said, I just put it out there and then said, it's going to show itself. And sure enough, problems with the chords, everything, they couldn't get the sound right. And I'm not saying that that's any sort of, I feel bad I'm sorry for that happening to them. It's just, what you have to understand is it's a tough position to be in. You're 2 guys with guitars. You're not even Tenacious D. You're just 2 guys with guitars playing songs. And we would have been able to hold our own, believe it, because people were getting down with what we're doing, even though it sounded like garbage. But it was it's the mentality of people, right? So you think about the last time that you heard a band and their sound quality was bad. You're not thinking, oh geez, I bet you they're a great band, but just their sound quality was not there. No, you're already thinking that band sucks, period. Why do they suck? Well, the vocals sounded real muddy. You couldn't really hear what he was singing. And the guitar was all crunchy, and every now and then you'd hear static. and like distortion. Oh, well, so they weren't bad musicians. It was just, bad equipment, right? Or a bad sound. But that's not the way people perceive it. They're just like, it just sucked or whatever. So I didn't like that feeling, and I didn't like the dynamic. I didn't like anything about it. But like I said, I mean, it's the last minute show we picked up, and the time we played at that particular location before, they have all the sound equipment there. So I showed up, and Vince was pulling equipment out, and he set up his own sound system, and we sounded great. So I had nowhere in my mind thought it was going to be an issue. It was just the way it was that last night. So anyway, but a lot of times headliners, you take it as like an ego thing, but and I still kind of do, because I think the only thing I would change if I was a headliner, I would just want to make sure that the openers represented and sounded good. I think it was, I heard it in reference to a comedian several times, but I can't think of his name right now. But he really wants the opener to shine, because when you come out after that and make, okay, that's the energy this person's bringing. I'm gonna have to take it to another level to outshine that person, or to not look less than. That's my mentality too, where I would want to be at mentally. Like, to give you an example, recently I've been trying to do more guitar solos. I've always had the emotion or the expression in me wanting to come out, but not the knowledge of how to do it. And so lately I've been doing more and more solos in the show, and jamming along, and I practice it, whatever. Anyway, but my favorite thing, we do this blues number, and I sort of do the little informational blues riffs throughout, and then I take the first solo on the song, right? So I'm playing the little solo, and then Vince takes the second solo. Vince is naturally known as like a lead guitar player. He's very good. He always gets the woohoos and the whistles and whatnot when in the middle of his solos. I've only gotten that a couple times, and he won't let me really have that because I haven't earned it. But anyway, the point is that my favorite thing is when I'm soloing and I'm going hard and it's coming out really good. When I'm really on it, then he's like, okay, like you could see it in his eyes, and in his mannerisms that I did good, because then he has to step it up and take it to another level. And sometimes I'll be playing a solo, and he's like, you know what, let me play, because to not be outdone, he wants to he hears something, he's like, all right, like, you're gonna bring that kind of energy, I'm gonna have to take it to the next level. That's my favorite thing, because it means that I'm doing something right, that I'm because when he could just play a little solo, and my putty hands won't affect nothing. But if I rip a good solo, then all of a sudden it's like, oh snap, I gotta play a little bit better. That was a weird tangent. I don't know how I got there. But anyway, on Wednesday, it doesn't matter what day it was on, I was asked by my cousins, the ones that I've mentioned probably in the past episodes about. I helped out playing bass. I play in their group. They have a Tejano group where they sing songs in Spanish and stuff and whatever. Well, they were having a benefit sand volleyball tournament, and the different musical groups from the city were were showing up and playing sand volleyball in to try to raise money for different charities and stuff. And so since I play with them, they're like, you want to come out and play sand volleyball with us and enter this tournament? And I agreed. I said, sure. Now, number one, I haven't played an organized sport in years. I never thought I'd be that guy that was true for, because I love sports and there's, tricky knees and stuff. It's been a minute. But I haven't played any organized sports in years. Freaks me out to say that, but it's true. Number two, I've never played sand volleyball in my life. I've seen it. I saw it on Top Gun. And it's not that. Let me assure you. If you've ever played sand volleyball, it's not what it appears on movies. Much less, like, I haven't played volleyball. It's since high school, which is forever and a day away from that, I would not even know what to do with a volleyball. Nor did any of my cousins that were like actually the band members that played. But my cousin was like, yeah, he was going to bring out his kids, and they're a good looking group of young kids. It's like they brought their friends and whatnot. So I show up and there's like 6 or 7, like his kids plus like 4 or 5 young 20-somethings, the guys are with no shirts on, ripped 6-pack abs, and I'm like, dude, what did I sign up for? And they're like, let's go out and to the practice area or whatever. There was like 14 plus teams. I mean, just a ton of teams, this band, that band, whatever. And it was hot, y'all. It was like steaming hot. And I went out. I said, well, I'm going to try it out. They were on the court playing, is that what you call it? In the sand with the doohickey. So they're out there practicing. I took 2 steps into the sand and it felt like weights were grabbing around my ankles and pulling my feet down. And I was like pulling against this like gravity, age, and other issues preventing me from like walking forward. I mean, torturous. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing like these, the different athletic, in shape people like jumping up and spiking the ball down. I mean, it was, totally different. To give you an example, I was walking when we said, you know what, I'm not going to burn out. It's super hot. Let's chill out before we haven't even started the tournament and we're already exhausted. So I said, let's go over here, whatever. And there was, like they do at many different bar and grill kind of places where they're having some sort of big festivity. They were giving out sample beverages, alcoholic beverages. And this lady was like, hey guys, talking to the young 20-somethings that were in our group. Hey, if you show some IDs, I can give you some free drink. And they were handing out these cans, these free drinks. So I'm like, it's cool. And I start getting my wallet out and to get my ID. And the lady was like, pops the top, hands it to me, and then pats me on the back. Like, you don't got to show me. Like, you ain't got to show me nothing. Like, it's all. I thought, you don't want to see my picture? Oh, okay. And she patted me on the back. But let me tell you something. When she patted me on the back, I felt like in that moment, a flash forward of what it feels like for a nurse to walk a senior into another room. That's what it felt like in that moment. Not even joking. Freaked me out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to drink this can. I'm going to crush it on my forehead because I'm, no. But I'm just saying, like, it didn't feel good. All right. So then, one thing I did like give myself some self-criticism was that I was relying a lot on self-deprecating humor, making a lot of old jokes. And here's the thing, you shouldn't do that, man. You shouldn't crap on yourself to get a cheap laugh. Like, I mean, it's not, first of all, it's not worth it. Secondly, I think it's like I was saying, oh man, I'm singing that in my mind. I'm like, I'm not as good as I once was singing that country song in my head. I'm making a joke about it. And I said, or, saying how, they were saying the first ones, that are coming up to play. And I made a joke about, oh, the practice wasn't it. We're not done already. Like, haha. Or like making jokes about how long it had been since I'd played a sport and all this kind of stuff, and how good the young kids looked in comparison to us. And I just think number one, it undermines your own confidence, and number two, I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you actually don't perform as well as you can perform. But just like a cop out, like, oh, well, obviously that's why I lost miserably. Anyway, if you're familiar with volleyball, you have to rotate, right? And so we started out with the young kids, and they were killing it, man. They were winning by a lot, but they had all these wishy-washy rules, and so my team was like, well, we have to rotate us into the mix, And I was like, just let them close this game out, man, because they'll win this round, you know what I mean? And they're like, nah, let's rotate in. So they rotated us in. I say us, I'm saying the cousins and myself, the ones that are the older group that we never, I wouldn't know the first thing about volleyball. So then they rotate this guy in, all of a sudden starts going down. And then they rotate me in, and I'm getting ready to serve the ball. And again, I don't know what my problem is with my sense of direction with my hand communicating to the ball, but I hit it and the ball goes left of everything. That just was a nightmare. Needless to say, we were eliminated, and they took a picture of us all in a group, and it just looks like I was one of the coaches standing off to the side, and the team was like, maybe I'll post it. I didn't want to post it because I don't have permission from the different people in the team. So, but the long and the short of it was, I don't think that you should. I do want to get in shape like crazy, but I wish it was like basketball or football or something that I was, at least have the hope of going out there and killing it one time. Like I picture that to be true. Like if there was like a basketball tournament, I could show up and like not look that bad. I looked very bad. I'll give you an example. I tried to jump up to spike it, and I fell on the net and the person that was in front of the net. And it was a poor girl. It just made it look like a bully. I jumped up in the air to hit the ball, and I was like, I'm in the air. Oh, I have no control of my faculties. Oh, I'm falling on the person. Cheese and crackers. It was the worst, man. And then I threw a dive to try to save a ball twice, as if the dramatic gesture was going to do anything. I ended up laying in the sand and finding sand and all these crevices. It was obnoxious. But it's for a good cause, whatever that was. I don't even know what the cause was. No, I think they were raising money for the community. Oh, and then not even to mention that, but in the middle of the practicing part where I'm learning, this one guy, one of the guys, the chiseled, guys, doesn't see me and comes down with his elbow like in my orbital socket and like my nose. And the guy's like, "You all right, man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no big deal." And he's like, "No, because I heard like a crack, like with my elbow, like on your face. So did I hurt you?" And I was like, "Dude, I mean, who knew volleyball was a contact sport? I didn't." But yeah, I came away with like a little you can see a little bit of redness. Just got a face checked, you know. But anyway, I'm glad that I participated. I'm glad Vince didn't want to go, but in my pursuit of trying to be more connected with the community and doing more, that was my thing. It's funny. I was leaving church today, and there was this lady standing with like this small family, and she was saying, and here's where I think it's like it becomes like a bad thing, in my own opinion. But she was telling, they were like, oh, you know, did y'all do anything fun this summer? And the lady, and I do not mean to eavesdrop. I'm sorry. I was trying to play my little video game on my phone, waiting for my family to come out from the Sunday school and whatever. And so I really, you know, I'm sorry, Jesus, but I was, I was just standing there playing on the video game, and the lady was saying to the other small family, and she was like, well, you know, I had my kids doing community service, and in my mind, I picture orange vests like cleaning up on the side of the highways. But she was like, yeah, you know, so when she's horseback riding, she goes to heading. She sticks around after she's done and helps clean up. And we log the hours, and she's doing a lot of community service that way, helping out the community. But she said it with such a humble brag, like her kids are like saving the world, you know, by, you know, putting the saddle back on a saddle, on a rack or whatever, after doing their horseback riding and other festivities. But I mean, just the smaller family was like, no, like, did you go to the beach or something? Like, did you know what I mean? Like, and then it becomes like a pissing contest of who's doing more for. So I just think that it sounded really kind of icky. I don't know. I don't think I'll tell people what I do ever. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I don't know what made me think of that. All right. Anyway, this was a fun week, and thank you for checking in with me. I needed to get all that out of my head. I will see y'all next week. Continue to send me ideas and comments and messages at lostlikemike@gmail.com. I'll try to get into some of that stuff. Oh, speaking of one of those things, if you're watching on the video, a question was asked what kind of dumb stuff I buy at garage sales. I bought this Coke bottle. Coke bottle piggy bank. And there you go. All right, so take care of yourselves, and I will see y'all next week. All right, we'll see you around.